Welcome in, Whiskey Freaks. It's the Blind Tasting Podcast. I'm John Stark, and I'll be your host today. And I'm going to be honest, today I just don't have time to screw around. So I've got an 11-mile bike ride. I've got a disc golf game waiting for me. And to be honest, there's just too much to talk about for all my goofy shenanigans on here, guys. You know I don't take this stuff too seriously, and that's kind of my credo. The way I see it, the way I figure, we got to have fun. Let's just have fun with it, right? It's better to laugh than to cry. I've heard that before from somebody very wise. But today, it's going to be business all day long. But don't worry, there's still going to be plenty. There's going to be a cornucopia of, you guessed it, bourbon-y goodness. Because I've got all kinds of things to throw your way, guys. And we might just learn something while we're at it. I've got tons of news today from the likes of Jack Daniels. Is this a supersizing stunt they're trying to pull? Well, we'll find out. And I've got big releases from Sweetens Cove, Peyton Manning's whiskey, and MGP. Yeah, they're in the news again, and it's not good again. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Budweiser today. Yeah, I said Budweiser. Look, don't come at me, bro. It's my podcast. Got some news from the king of beers for the holidays, and I'm going to tell you all about it. And finally, I review Yellowstone Select 93 Proof Straight Bourbon Whiskey from our good friends in Lebanon, Kentucky. So here's the deal. Right out the gate, here's some huge news from Jack Daniels. For the first time in almost 100 years, Jack Daniels is dropping a brand new bottle size, and it's a monster, guys. It's a full 3-liter bottle of Old No. 7 Tennessee whiskey. Doggy. Dude, that's like 4 regular 750s, or as I like to call it, a weekend with the right group of buddies. And this oversized monster bottle, it's going to be a permanent part of their lineup. Don't tell me they're not trying hard at Brown-Forman to get your business. This one is landing just in time for the holidays too, guys. You should be able to find it right now, actually. And that's really perfect timing if you're hosting a party or having a big time, because instead of cracking bottle after bottle all night long of Jack Daniels, you just park this beast on the counter and let everybody go nuts. Now, I can't figure out how it's going to fit on anybody's shelves or in their liquor cabinet, but that's a first world problem, I guess. A little history here, guys. Jack Daniels hasn't bottled anything this big since before Prohibition, back when bottle sizes weren't regulated. Now, after repeal, the government stepped in and they set strict size rules to keep taxes straight because they wanted their tax money and prevent what they called, quote, confusion, which, let's be honest, guys, that's kind of adorable coming from the federal government right now. Yeah, but anyway, earlier this year, the TTB, when they were working, they added new approved sizes to the schedule, including this 3-liter size, and that opened the door for Jack Daniels to bring this one back. Now, don't worry your pretty little heads, guys. Inside this gigantic bottle, nothing's changed. It's still the classic Old No. 7 mash bill, charcoal mellowed through 10 feet of sugar maple. You know all the things, Lincoln County process. All the things you love and have come to expect from Jack Daniels. It's still 80 proof, though, but it's available nationwide now, and it'll run you about $79.99. And I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't lower that in some places, maybe as a promotion. I don't know. I'm going to look for it. I probably won't buy it because I don't need 16 gallons of Jack Daniels, but you might want to keep your eyes open if that's your thing. Now here, I've got some more good news, guys. I've got new release news from Sweetens Cove Spirits. And they're back with 2 new Tennessee bourbons that capture the charm of the iconic 9-hole Sweetens Cove golf course in Tennessee. First up is the Sweetens Cove 5-year aged Tennessee straight bourbon. It's coming in at 93.7 proof, and they say it's smooth and balanced with notes of caramel, honey, toasted oak, baking spice, and bright fruit. They say it's perfect neat or in an old fashioned, and it'll set you back just $45. Then there's the Sweetens Cove Dunwoody 6-year aged wheated bourbon. It comes in at 95 proof, and this one's kind of cool. This one's named after the legendary, I didn't know it was legendary. It's legendary, the Dunwoody tree that stood on the first hole of the golf course until it fell in December 2022. Now, the tree itself was named after Mose Dunwoody, and he was a longtime member of the golf club, and he died on the course near that exact spot. Wow, okay. They say this one has hints of vanilla, toffee, dried fruit, and brown sugar, and it's a rich, mellow weeder built for sweet spot moments. I see what they did there, sweet spot. Founded by, now a little history, founded by Peyton Manning, Andy Roddick, and a crew of golf-loving celebrities, they say Sweetens Cove continues its tradition of serious whiskey without taking itself too seriously. I need to get my hands on this. Now, both expressions are available now, and you can purchase them online at Sweetens Cove on their website. I haven't actually sought out any Sweetens Cove, so I haven't seen it in the liquor store. I am going to make a note. I'm going to make a point to try to find that locally here in Illinois. And I think it's worth noting, guys, if you haven't heard the whole first tea ritual thing about Sweetens Cove, it goes like this. Okay, well, first, about the course. This golf course, Sweetens Cove, it was designed as an homage to Augusta National. And everybody's heard of Augusta National, right? You know, the Masters and all that. Well, unlike Augusta, Sweetens Cove is known for its lack of rigid rules, where respect for the course and others is really all that's required. Well, that, and combined with the long-standing ritual of a celebratory shot of bourbon on the first tee. I guess it's kind of a way for loosening up, right? Sharing the moment, you know, celebrating the start of the round with your buddies. I got to say, I've been on the tee box many a times, and I've never taken a shot, but it probably wouldn't hurt my game. Maybe next time I tee off, I'll throw back a shot and let it rip. Okay, MGP. Uh-oh. They've got big trouble. Again. Remember, just a few months back, guys, I told you MGP, and they're one of the biggest whiskey distilleries in the United States. They were already feeling this slowdown, you know, the whole whiskey glut thing. They had a nearly 25% drop in sales. Well, the latest numbers from the third quarter of 2025 are not much brighter. They've reported, and I'm not going to try to bore you with all the numbers here. I'm going to go through this quick, guys, but this is worth noting. Now, they've reported consolidated sales. That means everything, all parts of their business segment, fell 19% to $130 million. And their gross profit dropped 25%. That is a ridiculous drop. Their net income plunged 35% to $15 million. And in layman terms, that means they're screwed. Okay, maybe not screwed, but it's not great, guys. And what's the culprit? Yeah, we know the culprits, right? We know all of it. And I'm not going to go into all that this time. It's just too depressing, really. I hate to see a giant like MGP struggling, and for a number of reasons. All right, let me finish this thing. I really do hate even having to talk about this. It's a downer, it's a bummer, but let me break it down just a little bit more here. MGP's branded spirits, like their in-house, you know, Ross and Squibb, Ramus Bourbon, all that good stuff. Now, they saw just a small, modest 3% drop. While now this is the big one, guys, their contract distilling business, it dropped 43% in the third quarter alone. And that's because some of the big clients, we know about all this, right? Some of the big clients, they didn't renew their contracts. Well, that's because they're trying to balance inventory in this super shaky market. People aren't buying, so they're not buying from MGP. Now, the ingredient solution segment at MGP, they make food-grade wheat proteins and starches. They've been doing that for a long time. It was a rare bright spot, and they were up 9%, and I love to see that at least. Now, this is kind of a cool spin that they're putting on this, and even with all this bad news, MGP is trying to look at this in a positive way. Their CEO, Julie Francis, she pointed out that Premium Plus brand showed solid growth and the team's focus positions the company for long-term value. Well, that's something that they all say, right? But on top of that, she said Ramus Gatsby Reserve, I've talked about it on here, MGP's 15-year-old cask strength high rye bourbon, we know all about it, it's back and it's still excellent. So it's doing well. So here's my takeaway for whiskey freaks. Look, sales may be down and the market may be tough right now. Headlines, they're bleak. They're downright scary, really. But the whiskey itself, guys, it's not going anywhere. We're still getting good pours. We're still getting interesting flavors, and legendary mash bills are still out there for us. So I know it's hard, right? You feel like we rode the wave up, and that was exciting and fun, right? Remember all the barrel picks, all the things, all the bourbon groups, and it was a few years ago really exciting. It's still exciting, guys. We have to hold that excitement. We have to enjoy the fact that we're getting more and we're not paying as much for some things. And don't give up enjoying a pour just because the numbers are down for these distillers. This is one of those moments to pour, to sip, and appreciate what you've got in your glass right now. Let's stay positive, guys. Also, full disclosure, I own stock in MGP, so I'm praying for a rebound sometime soon. All right, whiskey freaks, let's take a quick detour into beer country for a second, because Budweiser, they just dropped their 2025 holiday can design, and that can only mean one thing. The holidays are here, ready or not.
Ho, ho, ho.
Now, these limited edition cans are rolling out nationwide right now, so take a look, see if you can find them. Budweiser, and this is cool, they went real classic this year with the design. You've got the Clydesdales. They're hitched up for a winter BWRUN, and they are set against a snowy background that looks like it came straight off an old school Americana postcard. And who doesn't like that, right? Gotta love that they're going with Americana over at Anheuser-Busch right now. And I wonder if there's a reason for that. And look, as a Missouri kid, you know Budweiser, it began here in St. Louis. Adolphus Busch and Anheuser, they got together right here. And the Clydesdales, they're not just branding to me, guys. They were part of growing up here in St. Louis. And I remember seeing them at St. Louis Cardinals baseball games, and no matter what the scoreboard said, and usually it was good, but no matter what it said, when those horses came trotting around the warning track, everybody stopped, they watched, they clapped, and they sang that Budweiser song. Those horses have presence, and they always have. I think they always will. They keep them. They raise them at a place called Warm Springs Ranch in the center of the state of Missouri, and we've been out there and we've toured that facility. It's beautiful. They got the little baby Clydesdales. Beautiful place to take the wife. You'd love it. Anyway, just a side note. And a quick bit of history to go along with that. Budweiser, if you didn't know this, our good friends over at Barroom Knowledge probably know this. Shout out to Barroom Knowledge if you want to go out to Facebook, Instagram, all those good places. Barroom Knowledge. Budweiser first introduced the Clydesdales in 1933 to celebrate the end of Prohibition. Then in the 70s, those holiday commercials started rolling out, and they basically became part of the American December playlist. I remember them all being a kid, right? And you see them, and then they got the little baby Clydesdales. The snow, the slow motion horses, the hooves, the whole thing, the whole vibe, right? So if you're a collector or you just want something that actually feels like the holidays when you crack it open, these 2025 cans are out there right now. It's only for a limited time. So get out there and see if you can find them if you're into Bud Heavy. See, guys, I had reasons. There are always reasons. All right, whiskey freaks, let's get to the fun part now, my review. And today I'm cracking open a bottle of Yellowstone Select 93 proof straight bourbon whiskey. Now, I have a couple goals here on the podcast, and one of which is to review stuff you can actually find and then actually afford it without getting a payday loan. I mean, who wants to sip on a whiskey while you worry about the house going into foreclosure, right? Sometimes we just need a solid sipper that won't break the bank. I hope really that today we found just that, and there's only one way to find out. So as you know, I like to do 2 minutes of history on these longer tastes and then do the sipping, and so here we go. Yellowstone Select, I've got it here. Yellowstone Select it's got one of those long winding histories that starts simple and then turns into kind of the bourbon version of a custody battle. And it begins way back with Joseph W. Dant back in 1820. This is only 2 minutes, guys. At the age of, the sweet age of 16, he carved a whiskey, get this, he carved a whiskey still out of a poplar tree. He ran a legit grain-to-glass operation at that time, way back before those words were invented, right? Growing his own crops, choosing the best of the bunch, and distilling it on site. Now, his whiskey sold as far away as New Orleans, and he even rafted the barrels down the Mississippi River himself. In 1870, We're getting closer, guys. He launched the Yellowstone brand. He moved into a larger gravity-fed distillery, and he was one of the earliest adopters of bottled in bond production. Now, unfortunately, he passed away in 1902, and the brand split paths between his sons. One son kept running the original distillery, which would eventually wind up to be with Heaven Hill, and the other son took the Yellowstone name and continued producing it independently. All right. Things stayed fairly steady until Prohibition, of course, when the distillery shut down. But the Yellowstone brand survived by becoming medicinal whiskey. After Prohibition ended, the family held on for a while, and then here comes the fun. This brand changed hands so often after Prohibition, we almost need a flowchart, guys. Sazerac, Diageo, Shenley. If you've ever heard of a major spirits company, odds are they babysat Yellowstone at some point during this time frame. It was like the Oprah era of bourbon. You get Yellowstone brand. You get the Yellowstone brand for a while. And by the 1990s, it was bouncing around so much it might as well have had its own mail forwarding address. Now, eventually, Luxco grabbed it. But production went quiet then, and the bottle became a rarity for a time. But then amazingly, in 2010... Paul and Steve Beam, descendants of the original Dant family, they fired up Limestone Branch Distillery and they struck a deal with Luxco for 50% ownership in exchange for bringing Yellowstone production back to the family. Then, Luxco got scooped up by MGP in 2021 because MGP scoops up everybody. But the bourbon still gets made at Limestone Branch Distillery. And fun fact, guys, they donate part of its sales to support the National Parks Conservation Association. See, the Yellowstone and the National Park. Got it? So, Yellowstone Select is the distillery's flagship bourbon. The mash bill is 75% open-pollinated heirloom corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. Now, the heirloom corn is as close as you can get to what the Dants were using back in the 1800s, and they've made sure of that. They've made special attention to that. And their fermentation lasts 72 hours, which is longer than normal. And they use a yeast strain that they really worked hard on this. They DNA matched it to samples found on antique family-owned bottles of Yellowstone to make sure they're using the right yeast strain. Now, distillation is done twice in copper pot stills, one being a French alembic still similar to those used for cognac. Now, after that, the whiskey ages 4 to 7 years, pay special attention, 4 to 7 years in new charred oak, and selected barrels are blended and bottled at 93 proof. Now today I'm tasting with a Glencairn, my favorite limestone branch Glencairn actually today. So let me crack this bottle open here, guys. And in full disclosure, I have an open bottle here. I got this one about a year ago. I tasted it. Normally I make tasting notes, right? And I've told you this 1,000 times here on the pod. Get a notebook, make notes when you do a tasting, the date, the time, what you had to eat, all the things, all the tasting notes and what you thought about it, and maybe even give it a score. You can buy a notebook for $1 at Walmart, or if you're into high tech, you can do it on your phone in your notes app. You could put it on your computer like I do. I put it in a Word document eventually after I put it in the notebook. I didn't follow my own advice here. It was do as I say, not as I do here. I did not make notes on this. I do not remember what I thought about Yellowstone Select. So it's kind of a fresh crack, but not really a fresh crack. Let me get it in my glass here so we can take a look at the color. And you know how I feel about color in the bottle. You cannot judge anything, well, not anything, but you really shouldn't be judging your bourbon in the bottle. You got to pour it into a glass and to really evaluate it. So, in my opinion, the color sometimes, it gives you an idea of the breadth of flavors you're about to put in your mouth, right? The darker the hue of the whiskey in the glass, the deeper the flavors are going to be. And it's not always true. It is sometimes, it is most of the time. So it's worth noting, and I'm going to tell you guys every single time. Now the color of this bad boy, and let me hold it up to the light here in my bunker. I think the CIA would be jealous of this lighting setup down here. Looks to me like a light honey color. Like think soft yellow, almost like clover honey. I've talked about different types of honey, the clover honey. And yeah, if I hold my glass up to the bottle, in the bottle, it's a full shade darker than what you see in the glass. So again, you got to evaluate it in your Glencairn. Let me nose this thing. Okay. A light note of brown sugar. I am getting a nice honey note here with a slight hint of floral. Maybe a touch of dusty corn in here. And there's a wood note here. Kind of like a cedar, maybe like a cedar tree. It's like this, you know, that stuff you scrunch up and you put in a creature's cage, like a guinea pig. Not nearly as bold as okay, we had a cedar chest at the foot of our bed for a while. It's not that intense cedar when you open that cedar chest. It's a real light cedar flavor. And I just tasted a 12-year Whistle Pig on the last episode, I think. This one's subtle. It's this cedar note. It's just blending into the rest of the nose. So overall, it's pleasant. Okay, let me get a sip of this. Doing that Kentucky Chew. Okay, wow. Lots of spice right off the bat, guys. Like black pepper, like a black pepper hit, really. Okay, there's some caramel in here too. No brown sugar at this point. I got brown sugar on the nose. It's not here though, not yet at least. Good strong caramel note though. Let me get another sip. Yeah, there's a light fruit note in here too, like this light apple note, like a green apple. And there's this grassy note going on too, like dry grass. I don't mean like, and I differentiate this. It's not like fresh cut grass in your front yard or like my jackass neighbor with the robotic lawnmower. This is like a dry grassy note. Let me get another sip. There's this, just the weakest rye bread note in here. And I got to say that couples really well with that fruitiness and the caramel. Really digging that. Now I got the pop on the first sip. It was a real zippy, peppery note, and that's pretty much gone after a few sips here. But it hit strong up front. And that cedar I got on the nose, ever so slight, it's here on the finish. And it's not terrible. I prefer more barrel char, tobacco, those kind of notes. That's a personal thing. That's my personal preference, right? There's none of that here. This is light. It's very light on flavor. You know how some whiskeys will coat your mouth? They'll hang around and leave this rich, creamy feel with a really satisfying finish. Yeah, this isn't that. Now, I'm not casting judgment just yet. I want to get one more sip first. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's this little citrusy note in here too. I don't hate that. I do love this rye bread note that's still in here too. Took a few sips to really bring that out. I do love that. But do I love the bourbon all the way around? Well, I'll have the answer right after the money spot. Are you looking to update your bar or man cave with some great photographs or wall art? Head over to Etsy at famousdocs.etsy.com. Pick up some fantastic prohibition, bourbon, whiskey, and gangster-related photographs and wall art, guys. You gotta check this stuff out. They've got Al Capone, John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, all kinds of cool photos over there from Wild West times. They've got Jesse James, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. And if you purchase 4 or more items at one time, you'll get 20% off your entire order for a limited time. That's famousdocs.etsy.com. famousdocs.etsy.com. So if you listen to the pod, you know that we have 3 verdict options on here. Are we going to keep it? Are we going to collect it? Or are we going to cull it? Now, to keep it means to proudly display this stuff in your liquor cabinet or your bar. This stuff's good for a pour anytime, but you don't need to stock up on it, guys. It's always available. Collect it. Grab another bottle, or maybe grab 2 bottles because it's just so damn delicious, or it may be really hard to find. Lastly, cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. In the case of Yellowstone Select 93 proof straight bourbon whiskey, I say, keep it. Now, is it my jam? Nah, not really. I got to be honest. I'm always honest on here, guys. And what kills me about this one is the finish. Look, I love the rye spice, the caramel, even the cedar note I got. It wasn't really a turn off. It wasn't a turn on either, but it was just a tinge, right? It was so light. But then the finish brings this grassy note that I just can't get past that. So I'm not going to buy another one, but I can't bring myself to cull it either, guys. This is a keep it. It really is. Now, I think a lot of folks will love it because we're all different, right? This is my palate. This is what I prefer. Some things are just shit. This is not shit. It is a good whiskey. It just doesn't suit my palate. I think, like I said, a lot of folks will like it. And I forgot to mention the price. I think a lot of folks will like it for $39.99. It's not unreasonable to ask $39.99 for this. It really isn't. You can find it for that pretty much everywhere. My money, and I know this stuff is supposed to be somewhere between 4 to 7 years old, and I'm sure it is. And the proof point is decent. It's easy to drink, honestly. But for my $40, if I'm laying it down on something, it's going to be like Still Austin or Knob Creek. I know a lot of you are Knob Creek haters. I love Knob Creek. Actually, I bought a Knob Creek 12 not too long ago. We're going to review that soon. But if you're into Maker's Mark like 46, maybe grab that one. I'm just going to have to shy away from getting another bottle of this entry-level Yellowstone. It just misses for me on the finish in a way that it just turns me off, guys. Sorry. It's a real bummer, too, because it's got lots going on here. You heard the notes. It really does. The rye spice is great. After that first peppery hit, which was like, whoa, shit, I enjoyed 90% of this, okay? So that's why it's a keep it. It's not a cull it. It just tastes disjointed to me and all the things. All the cylinders, they're just not hitting right for me. Now, hang with me in the next few weeks because I've got a lot in the chamber. In the next few weeks, I plan on reviewing another Yellowstone. This one's the Yellowstone Bad Boy. It's Yellowstone's 2024 limited edition bottle. It's 101 proof, runs somewhere between $100 and $120, and I'm excited to see if that one maybe takes things to another level over this 93 proofer. I think that one's a finished product, so it is going to be quite a bit different, but for $100, we'll see if it's worth it. This one here, though, the Yellowstone Select, it falls flat for me. I mean, give it a go. It should be like $6 to $10 for a pour at your local bar or pub. See what you think. Ask a buddy to try it. But before you buy, guys, give this one a try first. Now, I got to give a big shout out to all the new listeners popping up on Apple and Spotify, guys. We've got people tuning in from faraway lands like India, Brazil, and Singapore. Truly, guys, you could have been anywhere, doing literally anything, and I hate saying literally, but you chose to hear me rant here on Blind Tasting Podcast, and that really warms my heart, more than this 93 proof Yellowstone. So, guys, please spread the word. Tell a friend, maybe even share the podcast from whatever platform you're using. There are over 4 million podcasts out there, and the fact that you stopped by here today to listen to me really means a lot. Thank you. Last but not least, I got to give a shout out to the farmers, distillery production guys and gals, the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and truck drivers. They make it happen. So cheers to all of them. Guys, before I go, I think the next episode is going to be another deep dive into Booker's. And if you listen to, I think, an episode back in September where I review I think the second batch of Booker's from this year, we're going to broach the subject again. Should bookers be put out to pasture? Anyway, just wanted to give you that heads up. I had a lot of strong reactions when I mentioned this last time. I expect the same thing next time around. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun, and I think we should ask some of these hard questions. So I'm going to do that here, guys, on Blind Tasting Podcast. And that's all I've got for today, Whiskey Freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. Cheers. I'm going to finish this one.